Now, there's something that you all need to understand. I've been waiting for Batman and Superman to go at it since I was a kid. I used to watch the cartoons, and I would have action figures of them, and I would throw them at each other. So this is a long time coming for someone that grew up on these characters. And let me tell you, it was a lot cooler to see it on screen in Zack Snyder's crazy way to go about it than it was in my childhood. Okay, so Batman v Superman is a long time coming, not just for me, but for a lot of people. There was kind of a lot riding on this movie, and I wasn't sure what to think going in because I wasn't that big of a fan of Man of Steel. I thought it was okay, but I thought it could have been a lot better. I think they got the Superman character kind of wrong. Man of Steel was much more of a movie about an alien, which is what Superman is if you think about it realistically, but he's supposed to be the Boy Scout and the humanization of goodness in people. But I thought they missed the mark and whatever. Then fast forward some time and then we get Ben Affleck casted as Batman, and then people are like, Batman v Superman, it's coming. Now, even on the initial announcement, I was kind of digging the fact that Ben Affleck would be Batman. I always thought that he was a pretty good actor and that he did well in his roles. And holy crap is he jacked. Like, you really think that he can take Superman. So I think they got the look right. The look of Batman. Henry Cavill looks like Superman. I'm not quite sure if he acts like Superman still, even in this movie. But, you know, I didn't really have to worry about it because we're not just getting Superman. It's not a Superman sequel. Although it is connected to Man of Steel, there's a lot more characters that we're introduced to, and DC is trying to start up their cinematic universe. Now, one of the problems of this movie is actually that the trailers show a lot of the major beats throughout the film. If you go into this without seeing any trailers, then I envy you because I wish that some things were left to the theater-going experience. Now, Superman's character, I still feel neutral about him. I still don't really like him, but I mean, he's part of the story and he's integral to the plot. This Batman is a lot more vicious than we've seen before. Like, holy crap. He has a scene where he's just going at it and you're like, oh my god, this is awesome. Until you go back and think, wait, Batman has a moral code. Now, as cool as some of the imagery is to look at, if you kind of think about it from a logical standpoint, you realize that Batman and Superman are kind of murderers. They do things to these bad guys that I don't think can live through. And that's not something that we should be wondering with Batman. It should be very distinctly shown that he is going up to the line of killing, but not crossing it. Like Batman, you can't just have like Gatling guns on your Batmobile and then like totally shoot some guys, and then director, you can't just gloss over that. You gotta like, you know, show us that they're okay or something. Like I look up to this guy. But anyway, now the story, like I said, you kind of know what's coming, the major plot points. There were some twists and turns and some things that weren't expected, and some story elements that started getting interesting, and then they kind of abandon it for the Batman Superman fight, which is whatever. They had to keep the story going, and then we have to get to the whatever. Now, Jesse Eisenberg, he was really captivating on screen. He was playing like a twitchy crackhead or something. I'm not sure if he was Lex Luthor, but I mean, he was his own character, and I really like his chaotic score in the film. His theme for his character was really awesome. And of course, he's a manipulator, that he just wants to get his way, so that kind of works for that dynamic. He was just kind of a really weird, out there, sort of cartoony person, but it worked. Now, Man of Steel feels like its own compact film, its own thing, whereas this one, it has sort of an Amazing Spider-Man 2 vibe, where it's kind of just trying to set everything up. It's like, oh, here, Justice League's coming, here's all the characters you should know about. And I wish they had introduced the other members of the Justice League a little bit cleverly. Not to say that it was shoehorned in, but I mean, it was shoehorned in. Because we do get cameos, which we knew what was coming. And one of the cameos, you're kind of like, wait, what's happening? If it wasn't bad enough that we had like a ton of dream sequences in the beginning, which, by the way, the introduction sequence to this movie is great. I loved how Zack Snyder set the mood up for the film and for the tone of the Batman that he was going for. And even though I'm not a fan of the excessive use of slow motion, holy crap was it awesome in that first scene. But I think the film started out very good, and even as events unfolded throughout the first half of the film, I thought this is pretty good. They have some good ideas that they're proposing here and that they're asking the audience to think about, and the members of Metropolis and Gotham and whoever's in this whatever world to think about. And then about halfway to 3/4 of the film, they totally abandon the philosophical political aspect of it and go full out just hero fight, kind of like how in Man of Steel pretty much the last third of the movie was just Superman trying to stop the Machine and Zod. That's kind of how this felt. It was like the third act was like just this one long scene, and even after it was over, I was like, I kind of hope that they show more, or at least like introduce another thread of a plot or something. Give me something that I haven't seen in a trailer, which is funny that I say because it has a 2-hour and 30-minute runtime, which I know that we're getting on the Blu-ray like a 3-hour version of this, which, you know, okay. But at least the pace of the film, I think, was consistent for the most part. Despite its like long runtime, it didn't drag at any point. There was enough characters in all the scenes that were interesting enough that it didn't feel like a long movie, and you were just excited to see all these new characters on screen. Now, I don't know if this is an initial viewing thing. You know, only time will tell if it carries any replay value. But I mean, the movie was mostly good. It kind of did what it had to do to set up the universe, as clunky as it was, and it did what it had to do to get Batman and Superman to fight. And that's kind of it. I mean, it was a pretty looking movie, a little more style over substance, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I think I was hoping a little bit more for the dynamic between Batman and Superman. It kind of fell flat in terms of how they bounced off of each other, and I'm not talking about like the bouncing that goes on in the action scenes, because oh my god, people get flung around pretty crazily. But I think it was good, not great. I wanted it to be great, and I think it could have been great. But maybe it's just this tone that the DC universe is going for. You know, maybe we just have to adjust since we're used to the Marvel's lighthearted films. Even though they really shouldn't be compared at all. They're two totally different entities. But anyway, score. Right, I gotta score this thing. With great visuals, with a good soundtrack, with pretty superb acting, but the flaw in story and some inconsistencies, I'd give Batman v Superman a 3.5 out of 5.